Welcome to Tales of Honor, a podcast with a mission to tell the true stories of every recipient of our nation's highest military award, the Medal of Honor. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Tales of Honor podcast. This is episode number 534. I have one birthday to go over today, and it belongs to Mr. Harvey Barnum Jr. He was actually born what is going to be tomorrow, July 21st, 1940. He is going to be turning the beautiful age of 82 years old tomorrow. So a very happy birthday to Mr. Barnum, who earned the Medal of Honor for his actions during the Vietnam War. He is a retired Marine Corps colonel. So a very happy birthday to him. I covered his story back on episode number 74, so I'll have a link in the show notes for you to go check out more about Mr. Harvey Barnum. One other order of business here is really nothing of major importance, so if you want to skip forward to the story, you can go right ahead. But just a little bit behind the scenes here, when I was writing this story and many other stories, I find it interesting when I'm looking for information on the recipient, how much is just copied and pasted over and over again. And you can almost tell where it originated from, which is why I spend a lot of time trying to suss out whether it is legitimate information or not. But many times, I think a lot of information gets lost because people don't want to put in the time to do some research to find more information. Example, today's recipient, pretty much everywhere I looked had no birthday for him, just his birth year. And in fact, that was in dispute. But thanks to my situation, which allows me to do more research into these recipients, I was able to find his birthday, his real birth year, and also his real location of birth, which, albeit it's only 8 minutes away from where everybody else was saying he was born. But it's, if I'm going to take the time to write down something and I want it to be as factually correct as possible, it's possible that the information that I found is incorrect. I'm sure it is the internet after all. However, the information I found was his actual, it was a record of birth. So I'm more inclined to go with that than some other website just off the blue. But I do take a lot of pride in the time that I put into this because it's these stories are so important, and it's important to get them right. And all the living recipients that I've had the opportunity to reach out to and let them know that I've covered their story, I've always told them, hey, if there's anything I've gotten wrong or missed or you feel needs to be left out or added in, please tell me. And so far, I have yet to have anyone say that I've gotten something wrong, which is I'm happy about that. So just a little bit of me rambling on here, but just to tell you that a little bit more behind the scenes. And if you read this story and you've done some other looking on the internet of your own and you're wondering where did I come up with this information, well, it is out there. You just have to take the time to really look. I mentioned on a previous episode, FamilySearch.org has been a very, very important tool for me to be able to find information on these recipients. And it's a free resource, and there's so much out there, and I'm very thankful for it. So that's it. That's all going to be my little ramblings on here. So let's jump right in, head first, into today's Tale of Honor. Dennis was born in Waimea, Hawaii on the 1st of March, 1949, and his stepfather was a mechanic in the National Guard. He grew up with 5 siblings and earned his high school diploma after enlisting in the U.S. Army in December of 1967. Shortly after enlisting, Dennis was deployed in support of the Vietnam War and served as an assistant machine gunner with the 2nd Battalion, 35th Infantry, 4th Infantry Division. Dennis returned home after his first deployment, and in 1970, he once again headed to Vietnam, this time as a crew chief on medical evacuation UH-1 helicopters known as dust-offs, and it was his actions during the rescue of wounded troops from the Army of the Republic of Vietnam that would earn him the Distinguished Service Cross, later upgraded to the Medal of Honor. The citation reads, Specialist 5, Dennis M Fujii, distinguished himself by conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity above and beyond the call of duty while serving as a crew chief aboard a helicopter ambulance during rescue operations in Laos, Republic of Vietnam, during the period of 18 to 22 February 1971. Specialist 5 Fujii was serving with the 237th Medical Detachment, 61st Medical Battalion, 67th Medical Group. The team's mission was to evacuate seriously wounded Vietnamese military personnel from the midst of a raging battlefield. The aircraft's primary approach to the bullet-infested landing zone was thwarted by heavy volumes of enemy fire directed at the specialist helicopter. As the pilot made a second landing attempt, the enemy concentrated a barrage of flak at the air ambulance, which damaged the craft and caused it to crash in the conflict area, injuring Specialist 5 Fujii. Moments later, another American helicopter successfully landed near the wreckage of the specialist airship and extracted all the downed crewmen except for Specialist 5 Fujii, who was unable to board due to the intense enemy fire directed at him. Rather than further endanger the lives of his comrades aboard the second helicopter, Specialist 5 Fujii waved the craft out of the combat area and remained behind as the only American on the battlefield. Subsequent attempts to rescue the specialist were aborted due to the violent anti-aircraft fire. Specialist 5 Fujii finally secured a radio and informed the aviators in the area that the landing zone was too hot for further evacuation attempts. During the night and all through the next day, Specialist 5 Fujii disregarded his own wounds as he administered first aid to the Allied casualties. On the night of 19 February, the Allied perimeter came under ruthless assault by a reinforced enemy regiment supported by heavy artillery. Once again obtaining a radio transmitter, Specialist 5 Fujii called in American helicopter gunships to assist the small unit in repelling the attack. For a period of over 17 consecutive hours, Specialist 5 Fujii repeatedly exposed himself to hostile fire as he left the security of his entrenchment to better observe enemy troop positions and to direct airstrikes against them. At times, the fighting became so vicious that Specialist 5 Fujii was forced to interrupt radio transmittal in order to place suppressive rifle fire on the enemy while at close quarters. Though wounded and severely fatigued by 20 February, the specialist bore the responsibility for the protection and defense of the friendly encampment until an American helicopter could land and attempt to airlift him from the area. As his air ambulance left the battlefield, it received numerous hits and was forced to crash land at another South Vietnamese Ranger base approximately 4 kilometers from the specialist's original location. The totally exhausted Specialist 5 Fujii remained at the Allied camp for 2 more days until yet another helicopter could return him to Phao Bai for medical assistance on 22 February. Specialist 5 Fujii's extraordinary heroism and devotion to duty were in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. According to Paul Simcoe, who was a medic that had flown in with Dennis, the ARVN troops had not been clear on the details on the ground. They had claimed they had not been in contact with the enemy for 2 days, but as helicopters approached their base, it was clear that they were taking fire from all directions, and the hill was covered in smoke. It was not uncommon to see ARVN troops abandon their positions and their wounded, so when the Huey that Dennis was on attempted to land, they witnessed a swarm of troops headed for the landing zone. This allowed for the North Vietnamese Army to focus in on one spot, which resulted in the wounding of both pilots. Dennis recovered from his wounds in Phu Bai and then returned home at the end of February. He received a welcome from the governor and was nominated for the Medal of Honor for his actions, but it was downgraded to the Distinguished Service Cross, which he received from General Fred Wyand on the 20th of March, 1971. Dennis transferred to the Hawaii National Guard and went on to work at the Johnston Atoll Wildlife Refuge Island as a utilities and logistics technician. He also married Raynette on the 10th of May, 1986, and he was inducted into the Army Aviation Museum's Hall of Fame at Fort Rucker, Alabama, in addition to the U.S. Army Museum of Hawaii's Gallery of Heroes. On the 27th of June, 2022, the White House announced that his Distinguished Service Cross would be upgraded to the Medal of Honor, and on the 5th of July, Dennis Mark Fujii received the Medal of Honor from President Biden. 2 days later, he was inducted into the Pentagon's Hall of Heroes, and at the time of writing this, he is 73 years old and resides in Hawaii. And that was a tale of honor. thank you for listening to Tales of Honor, and if you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe and tell your friends and family. Tales of Honor is written and produced by Christoph Ambrosch, and theme music is Loyalty and Duty by Floruz Music. If you have any questions, you can send an email to talesofhonorpodcast@gmail.com, and please be sure to visit talesofhonorpodcast.com for more episodes and information.